Abuja, Nigeria. In a stunning turn of events, a federal high court in Abuja has acquitted Ishaq Modibo Kawu, the former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, of all charges related to alleged fraud. Justice Folashade Ogunbanjo Giwa delivered the verdict earlier today, sending shockwaves through the nation's legal and media circles. The case, which centered around a 2.5 billion naira digital switchover program, had captivated public attention for months. Kawu, along with Pinnacle Communications Limited, had been accused by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission of misappropriating funds meant for the digital switchover project. The prosecution alleged that Kawu had abused his position to divert funds for personal gain. The defense, however, maintained Kawu's innocence throughout the trial, arguing that he had acted in the best interests of the NBC and the country. The courtroom was packed with lawyers, journalists, and members of the public as Justice Ogunbanjo Giwa read out her verdict. The judge meticulously outlined the charges against Kawu and Pinnacle Communications, highlighting the key pieces of evidence presented by the prosecution. She then proceeded to explain the reasoning behind her decision, emphasizing the prosecution's failure to establish a clear chain of evidence linking Kawu to the alleged crimes. The acquittal comes as a major blow to the ICPC, which had been pursuing the case against Kawu for several years. The anti-corruption agency had expressed confidence in securing a conviction, but the court's ruling has cast a shadow over their handling of the investigation. The prosecution has not yet indicated whether they plan to appeal the verdict. Justice Ogunbanjo Giwa's verdict hinged on the prosecution's inability to provide sufficient evidence to prove Kawu's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The judge pointed to a lack of documentary evidence directly linking Kawu to the alleged misappropriation of funds. While the prosecution had presented numerous documents related to the digital switchover program, they failed to establish a clear paper trail implicating Kawu in any wrongdoing. The judge also expressed concerns about the credibility of some of the prosecution's witnesses. She noted inconsistencies in their testimonies and a lack of corroborating evidence to support their claims. Some witnesses, for instance, had alleged that the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, had played a role in approving the allegedly fraudulent payments. However, the prosecution was unable to produce any documents or other evidence to substantiate these claims. Furthermore, Justice Ogunbanjo Giwa found that the prosecution had not adequately addressed the defense's arguments. The defense had successfully poked holes in the prosecution's case, highlighting alternative explanations for the financial transactions in question. They argued that the payments made to Pinnacle Communications were legitimate and in line with the terms of the contract for the digital switchover project. The judge ultimately agreed with the defense's assessment, finding that the prosecution had not presented a compelling case against Kawu. The acquittal of Ishaq Modibo Kawu is a significant development in Nigerian jurisprudence. It serves as a reminder that the burden of proof in criminal cases rests squarely on the prosecution, and that mere allegations or suspicions are not enough to secure a conviction. Throughout the trial, the prosecution relied heavily on witness testimonies to build their case against Kawu. However, their reliance on eyewitness accounts proved to be their undoing, as the judge found several inconsistencies and contradictions in the statements provided by key witnesses. These inconsistencies created reasonable doubt about the veracity of the prosecution's narrative and ultimately contributed to Kawu's acquittal. One of the most glaring inconsistencies emerged from the testimony of a former NBC official who claimed to have witnessed Kawu issuing instructions to divert funds from the digital switchover program. Under cross-examination by the defense, the witness struggled to provide specific details about the alleged incident, such as the date, time, and location of the conversation. The witness also contradicted their previous statements, casting further doubt on their credibility. Another witness, a financial expert called upon by the prosecution to analyze the financial records of the NBC, provided testimony that appeared to support the prosecution's claims of financial impropriety. However, the defense successfully challenged the expert's methodology and interpretation of the data, demonstrating that the expert had made several assumptions that were not supported by the evidence. The defense's cross-examination effectively undermined the expert's credibility and cast doubt on the validity of their conclusions. The inconsistencies in witness testimonies, coupled with the lack of documentary evidence, created a significant obstacle for the prosecution. Justice Ogunbanjo Giwa acknowledged in her verdict that the prosecution's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence, and that the inconsistencies in witness accounts made it impossible to convict Kawu beyond a reasonable doubt. The acquittal of Ishaq Modibo Kawu has sent shockwaves through Nigeria, sparking a heated debate about corruption, accountability, and the rule of law. The case had garnered significant public attention, with many Nigerians closely following the proceedings and expressing strong opinions about Kawu's guilt or innocence. The verdict has ignited passionate reactions from both sides of the aisle, with some praising the court's decision as a victory for justice while others expressing disappointment and outrage. Kawu's supporters have hailed the verdict as a vindication of his character and a testament to the fairness of the Nigerian justice system. They argue that Kawu was targeted by political opponents who sought to tarnish his reputation and derail his career. They maintain that Kawu is a man of integrity who served his country with distinction, and that the allegations against him were baseless and politically motivated. On the other hand, Kawu's critics have expressed disappointment and anger at the verdict, arguing that it represents a setback for the fight against corruption in Nigeria. They point to the fact that Kawu was a high-ranking government official entrusted with public funds, and that his acquittal sends a dangerous message that those in positions of power are above the law. They call for greater transparency and accountability in government and urge the ICPC to continue investigating allegations of corruption. The acquittal of Ishaq Modibo Kawu is a watershed moment for Nigeria. It has exposed the complexities of prosecuting corruption cases and has sparked a national conversation about the need for stronger institutions and a more robust legal framework to tackle graft. The case will undoubtedly have far-reaching implications for the fight against corruption in Nigeria and beyond.